Okay, so today we're going to talk about supply side or the supply side of what we call the aggregate demand, aggregate supply model. So we've already built up concepts for this, and obviously we've built them up through the lens of aggregate demand and aggregate expenditures and the consumption function. So all that's related to the aggregate demand, aggregate supply model. Now we're going to put on the final topping of that, which is aggregate supply. We're going to build towards the full equilibrium, and you've kind of seen it. I've kind of done the intersecting equilibria. I've shown you that before. But we're really going to kind of delve into the supply side of it. What drives our assumptions? How do those assumptions play with concepts that you've already seen, like the multiplier, like aggregate expenditure, and things like inflation and all that. We're going to kind of cast that in a new light and really put the final cap on what you've seen in the course so far. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that you probably heard, or maybe not probably, but you might have heard the term supply side economics. It's related, but that's not really what we're talking about here. Okay, supply side economics is one school of thought that deals with kind of stimulating aggregate supply. And obviously, in order to understand supply side economics, you need to understand aggregate supply. But really, we're looking at aggregate supply and not the school of thought that is kind of loaded term there. Okay, so this has nothing to do with aggregate supply. And if you want to learn more about aggregate supply, read chapters 17 and 18 in your textbook. If you want to learn more about supply side economics, read chapters 17 and 18 in your textbook. Do textbook assignment 4, the extra credit assignment that we have posted here. The due deadline says 3/19. Really, it's whenever you get to it, just like Commanding Heights 1 and 2. I don't know if I already said this. I got so wrapped up into the plagiarism talk. I don't think I actually brought this up. Real quick. So discussion thread 4 is due on Friday. The Commanding Heights TB4 and Commanding Heights 1 are all kind of flexible deadlines there. So get to them when you get to them. I put the deadlines on there as kind of a guideline for you so that you can pace yourself. But get to them when you get to them. But if you want to go more into the workings of supply side economics, we'll talk a little bit about them when we talk about fiscal policy, maybe later in this lecture. But we're definitely going to talk about them, but definitely your textbook talks about them in more depth than I will. And also talks about other, what I call like heterodox or non-mainstream schools of economic thought. So monetarism, real business theory. It doesn't talk about Austrian economics because that's pretty far out to the heterodoxy. It doesn't talk about Marxian economics, which is also pretty far heterodoxy. It doesn't talk about modern monetary theory because the textbook is older than that theory kind of when that theory kind of became popular, which is really in the last year or so. So there's probably things I don't even know about modern monetary theory. I'll kind of touch on it a little bit, but they're not really the focus of this course, and they're definitely not the focus of this slide deck. So I felt comfortable relegating them to an extra credit assignment. But if you want to learn more about what supply side economics is, I'd suggest reading those chapters in the textbook. I said 17 and 18, it's 18 and 19, I'm sorry. So we're just looking today about aggregate supply, and then we'll talk about more of the fiscal policy kind of threads later on. All right, so let's get to it.